With the sad news that Doctor Who has once again entered the wilderness years, I thought it would be fitting to talk about one of the two main spin offs of the show. Now, there have been many small spin offs, but the two that mainly come to mind are Sarah Jane Smith, this series, and Torchwood. But first, I'm going to talk about Sarah Jane Smith. So, after the events of the incident with the vampire creatures, whose main leader was played by the late, great Anthony Stewart Head, they decided to keep Sarah Jane Smith around. And we start her show with this. A young girl moves in with her divorced dad across the street from Sarah Jane Smith, and she quickly gains a few friends in the form of a fairly obnoxious schoolmate, future schoolmate, who not only proves to be odious comic relief, but also introduces the girl to this new orange soda that everyone apparently loves, except for a small percentage. File that little nugget away for later. At first, Sarah Jane Smith appears somewhat abrasive and evasive. So, she doesn't come off as very nice. But eventually the girl, after seeing Sarah Jane Smith communicate with a sort of jellyfish mermaid type alien, decides to get nosy, and it's revealed that Sarah Jane Smith has not only a lot of alien gear in her attic, but she also has some sort of portal to a star that's collapsing, and her trusty tin dog, K9, is keeping it at bay, which is why we don't see him much throughout the show. Eventually, the girl and her friend go to the factory of the orange soda for a tour. And they're told to turn off their phones and turn them in. But the friend decides, nope, she's going to be a rebel. And so she tries to make a call, which causes a whole lot of chaos at the factory. And it's revealed that the factory is run by aliens who get wind of Sarah Jane Smith once she tries snooping around. Meanwhile, there's a strange boy who doesn't have a navel and who seems to be really, really smart, even though he was literally born yesterday. And it turns out he's some sort of template, a mix of various human children from the last few months of scans that have to be done if you want to enter the factory. So apparently this template has been used to influence children in order to drink the soda, which, as it turns out, has the essence, of this alien cephalopod energy known as the Bane. And basically they're trying to turn human children into these aliens. And ultimately, this kid teams up with Sarah Jane and the girl to use the cell phone signal as a weapon. And ultimately, they succeed and get out of the factory in time. And ultimately, Sarah Jane adopts the boy, and he names himself Luke. Though, considering he could have named himself John uh, in honor of the Doctor, but that's neither here nor there. He names himself Luke. And so Sarah Jane Smith sort of becomes the adoptive mom of the group because all the kids want to hang out with her. Next, the girl has her first day of school along with Luke, who has to integrate with society now. And it seems that the family Slitheen from the Ninth Doctor Adventures involving aliens in London have come back. This time they're trying to siphon power from the Earth, including the sun, but they just can't get the calculations right for their machinery to work. And everyone notices strange behavior from teachers and even one of the students, who all turn out to be Celine. And the food at the school goes bad like that. And the Slitheen are not very good at maintaining their disguises. They just can't nail down human behavior. They're cartoonishly evil. And it's kind of ridiculous to see that in action. Ultimately, Luke solves the problem of the Slitheen machine. But thankfully, with the help of Sarah Jane Smith, they're able to defeat the Slitheen again. And we actually start to feel sorry for a couple of them, because two of them are a father-son duo, and the dad gets vaporized while the son just barely makes it out alive, because Sarah Jane and company hesitate to try and save them, even though they have a chance. So that doesn't paint our characters in a very positive light. Next, we go to a nunnery where the sisters appear to be helping an actual Gorgon from Greek mythology. Meanwhile, Sarah Jane, Luke, and the girl meet a nice old lady who seems to be suffering from Alzheimer's, but who can't help but reminisce about times in the past when she and her husband end up actually crossing paths with some of the aliens that the Doctor has crossed paths with, like the Sontarans. She actually describes them pretty accurately. And in a moment of lucidity, she gives Luke this weird pendant that apparently the Gorgons want. And well, ultimately they get the pendant, and Luke and the girl and Sarah Jane, and sadly Sarah Jane's father gets petrified. The Gorgon's plan is revealed as wanting two things. Number one, a new host, because apparently the Gorgon is actually this energy being that possesses humanoids. And Sarah Jane's the next host. And number two, they want to use the pendant plus the planetary alignment to open the portal to their planet or reality or whatever, so Gorgons can possess humans en masse. Luckily, excuse me, luckily, the girl also gets a mirror from the old lady who reminds her that the legends of the Gorgons do have some basis in reality. Namely, you can use a mirror against them. So the girl manages to stop the Gorgon from possessing Sarah Jane, which breaks her psychic hold on the nuns, and they go back to being regular nuns. And they deactivate the portal just in time, and ultimately the day is saved. Twofold, actually. Well, threefold. Because not only have they thwarted the Gorgons, but turns out the pendant can be used to heal petrification if it's done quick enough. Now, one lady who was working for the Gorgons, it's too late for her, but she was a villain, so heck with her. But the girl's father does get unpetrified, and ultimately finds out the truth about Sarah Jane Smith. Meanwhile, the lady with Alzheimer's, well, she doesn't instantly get cured of Alzheimer's with the help of the pendant, but it does give her enough lucidity to remember her late husband. So at least she can finish out her days in peace and not in confusion. Next, Luke discovers his knack for laser tag, and he meets up with another friend from school, and they excel at laser tag, only it's sort of a recruitment test by aliens for a war. Now, surprisingly, it's not Sontarans versus Rutons, it's another species versus a different species. And they ultimately get teleported to an alien spaceship where they plan to get carted off to the battlefield thanks to a computer system that runs the whole thing with the help of a retired general from that war. Unfortunately, it's revealed that the computer designed to help win the war, it wasn't programmed to deal with the ramifications of winning the war. So it hoodwinked the retired general into stealing children to fight a war that had been already won. So, with the help of Mr. Smith, the computer, Sarah Jane Smith and the girl locate their friends, and ultimately the retired general blows up the computer and offers up his life as recompense. But when Sarah Jane Smith says, no, that's not the answer, he vows to find however many children survived the recruitment process in order to make up for his wrongdoing. And next, this one sort of bumps up against the main Doctor Who storyline. Sarah Jane Smith casually mentions that she's going to stop a meteor that is apparently going to take out the Earth even though the doctor could easily handle that. I guess he leaves his friends in charge of stuff like that so he can go visit other places and times. Unfortunately, things don't go according to plan. This strange hooded figure seems to erase Sarah Jane Smith from existence. Except not everyone forgets her. The girl remembers her thanks to a gift from Sarah Jane. A box. No, not the lament configuration from the Hellraiser films. No. It was a gift from a soothsayer, an alien soothsayer, who said that Sarah Jane would know the exact time and place to use the box. And apparently, they were right. Because the girl remembers Sarah Jane Smith and starts questioning people about her. Only one woman, I believe her name was Agnes. I'll just call her Agnes. Agnes sort of remembers her, but gets very upset with the girl for dredging up this memory. So, a small goblin-like creature is dispatched to kidnap her. And she's taken to the space between spaces and erased from everyone else's memory. Except for her dad, who was then given the box and forcibly remembers her. And we find out that the culprit is a literally faceless creature. All he has is a mouth with sharp teeth. No eyes, nose, or discernible features. This creature is a trickster who feeds on chaos. Well, turns out Sarah Jane Smith was very integral to Earth's future, because without her, Earth is doomed to destruction from this meteorite. I mean, seriously, where is the doctor? Turns out Agnes was schoolmates with Sarah Jane Smith back in the 60s. I think either just after the original doctor left with Ian and Barbara. Sarah Jane and Agnes were checking out an abandoned pier, and poor Agnes fell overboard, and well, in the original timeline, she died. I guess she couldn't swim, or the water wasn't deep enough, or something, but in that moment, she made a deal with a creature that she would switch with Sarah Jane Smith and be allowed to live her life. But what she didn't know was the chaos of Sarah Jane Smith's absence would doom all of humanity. And so she makes the ultimate sacrifice in order to save the world. And in the moment when she goes back to her death, she leaves Sarah Jane Smith with just 2 words: remember me. And so the trickster, who also, when confronted with Sarah Jane Smith, mentioned possibly removing the doctor from the timeline to cause chaos, that really got Sarah Jane Smith's ire up. So she took great satisfaction in convincing Agnes to thwart the trickster. And so, with barely a second to work, Sarah Jane and Mr. Smith managed to bump the meteorite away from the Earth, thus saving the day. That was a close call. Unfortunately, Sarah Jane Smith's trials are not quite over, as it's revealed that Luke actually has amnesia and his parents have been looking for him this whole time. So Sarah Jane Smith hands him over, but unfortunately the parents really aggressively press charges. And so poor Sarah Jane Smith's arrested. But it's quickly revealed that they're actually more of the Slitheen family who've now adapted to thinner skin suits. So you can't tell who's a Raxacoricofallapatorian and who isn't. Although the chronic gas they experience is still a problem, so that's still a clue. Meanwhile, Luke is taken to a facility where humans are experimenting with augmenting our potential psychic ability. And it's revealed that the Slitheen child is still around and trying to use his knowledge to hurt humanity and gain financial stability for his family. Ultimately, he tricks Luke into putting on a headband that augments his psychic potential. Unfortunately, that energy, which was going to be harnessed and sold, Luke possesses way too much potential energy, and that causes the moon to start falling out of orbit, which will then annihilate the world. But turns out the Slitheen were just pawns in the plans of Mr. Smith, the computer. Now, throughout the series, when Mr. Smith was revealed, his computer setup, when it opened up out of the wall, there would be this silly music that would play every single time. It was so annoying. But in this episode, that stops, which is actually a clue. Because as it turns out, Mr. Smith, which was actually sort of a crystalline entity and part of a computer system from crystalline beings who crash landed on Earth millions of years ago, and Sarah Jane Smith woke him up, and he convinced her to let him build a computer system to integrate with Earth technology. Turns out, his plan was to annihilate the world and free his people from their entombment inside the Earth. Like, they could be the crystals inside the crystal caves that are periodically shown on TV. But that's just conjecture. Anyway, what happens is Luke manages to build a computer virus that infects Mr. Smith and wipes his original programming, allowing him to turn from evil back to good. And with his help and Luke, the moon gets put back in its original orbit, and the Slitheen sort of call a truce and leave. So ultimately, the day is saved, and they live happily ever after for the rest of the season. And that was season 1 of Sarah Jane Smith. Some of the behavior of the villains is a little cartoonish, and Luke can come off as a bit of a weakling at times. But seeing Sarah Jane Smith and the occasional presence of K9 is a very welcome sight. And I look forward to season 2. Until then, this is Mr. J signing out and reminding you, the weird old lady who lives across the street might just be more interesting than you realize. And never trust hostile smarty pantses who have gas, because they may just be from Raxacoricofallapatorius. Just remember, check for the smell of bad breath. Slitheen gas is always the smell of bad breath.